welcome everyone. Now we have to live in the world of AI now, so I guess we have to get used to, like, if something goes wrong and technology gets a little bit upset, then you don't know, how much time it takes.
You want a microphone?
Microphone, because we need a microphone. Yeah. Oh, there it is.
Sorry, I wasn't sure if you wanted to use the lav microphone or I can bring up one of these guys for you.
Oh, yeah.
You can use this one.
This one is okay.
But I need a moving.
Oh, I see.
You have a lapel thing?
Yeah, it's like that.
Please just remove.
Yeah, you can set it up.
Yeah, you can set it by mine.
I think, Dr. Salman might be. Anyway, I'll just introduce.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah, okay. Does it work?
Yeah.
No, I'll have to turn it on.
Hello. So can see a little brighter.
Yeah, okay. But then you will not see this one.
Okay, so now I'm going to invite Dr. Noel Salman to take the baton of this program today. Oh. Okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, okay. Can everybody hear it?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Okay. So yeah, Dr. Salman. Dr. Salman is Professor of Humanities. He is a long-time director on the board of Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council. He, almost more than a decade. He was the president of MGPC for a few years, and he has been our key advisor and, the person to really, who volunteered to really do a lot of things, which is what we have been, the activities which we have been doing. So Dr. Salman, please.
Thank you, Rashmi. Do I really need a mic? We're a fairly intimate crowd. You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Well, it's such a pleasure to be able to be here in person after that long ordeal, which hopefully won't return, of COVID. So my first duty, and it's a great honor to welcome the High Commissioner of India, Sri Sanjay Verma, and would you like to say a few words? Just
Gandhians, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very thankful for having been invited to this particular occasion and being found skillful enough to talk to you on a subject which is very dear to my own heart. Whenever I look at the life of Mahatma Gandhi, I generally look into his book, another collation, the stories of my experiment with truth. That only goes up to 1921. So therefore you can imagine that Mahatma Gandhi had more failures till 1921 than successes. But he still kept trying to learn truth, which he did not take down from any text, any preconceived notion, but he entered into that domain and experimented with the truth, learned about the truth. In today's world, we do face a lot of challenges to truth, whether at individual basis, societies, and even at the nation basis. All of us need to reconcile ourselves with the outcome of our experimentation with truth, collective and individual. I hope that by reading or going through the life of Mahatma Gandhi, we are able to understand that sometimes it is difficult to know about the truth, but it is never impossible to learn about the truth. And we are going through that phase in our life, day in and day out, in the lives of the nations as well, day in and day out. Without any preconceived notions, we need to search for the truth. And I hope that today's presentation as well, or our own conversation, would lead to us some kind of reconciliation with the truth. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Rashmi, thank you. Rashmi also already acknowledged our special guest who has graced us every year practically at this occasion, Dr. Roseanne Rente. And I would just invite Roseanne to please greet us briefly, and then I'll come to Dr. Humar.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for being here on this beautiful day to come inside and hear words of wisdom from one of Carleton's best professors. So thank you for that. And having been told a couple of minutes ago that I'd be asked to make a 5-hour speech, I remember what an American writer, Mark Twain, once said, and he said the best impromptu speech takes at least 3 weeks to write. So therefore, you won't get the best speech ever. And I'll just say a couple thoughts. The first, I always remember that Gandhi said, I want my house to have the windows and the doors open to the winds of the world so that everyone is welcome. And that's why it is partly why it's appropriate that Gandhi greet us at this establishment of higher education, because we need the ideas and wisdom of the world to do better things. We need to be open to different ways of thinking and doing. And I thank you for being part of that openness. I'm sure the experiment is working, because you know Gandhi came in that dhoti, and it gets a little chilly here in the winter time, and lots of snow. And one day I remember walking out, and there was Gandhi with a beautiful wool scarf and a toque. And at first I thought, you know, is this disrespectful? And the students said to me, no, we want to give him a warm welcome, and we want him to know that you can still have those good ideas and be covered up and warm, and we wanted to embrace it with Canadian warmth. And I think that is wonderful. And today, as we stood there, you noticed the hedges were about this high around. And when the statue was put up, they were about this high. And I think that what has happened is that this has taken root, and thinking has progressed, and that welcome has become warm and grown as part of the culture of this institution. So I thank the faculty. Thank you for asking me to say a few words. Thank you, Mr. High Commissioner, for coming and gracing us with your presence. And Dr. Humar, thank you always for your hard work and your kind words. Thank you.
Just one more recognition I want to make. The director of the College of the Humanities is here, Professor Shane Hawkins. And so this annual lecture has been a collaboration between the College of the Humanities and the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council dating back to 2011. And we're especially happy this afternoon that our speaker is Dr. Jagmohan Humar, who's been the linchpin of the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council all these years. So I think he's probably well known to most of you. He's the distinguished research professor in engineering here at the campus, I think with a specialization in earthquake technology, which is pretty important given recent events. Jagmohan is also a member of the Order of Canada and tirelessly works for the Peace Council, and we're so delighted to have you give us a look at the influence of the Jain religious tradition on Gandhi, and I think all of us recognize that supreme value in that tradition of ahimsa, or non-harming, non-violence, and as the High Commissioner said, and Dr. Rante, in the times we're facing now, reflections on the possibility of nonviolence are extremely important. So without further ado, Dr. Humar.
Here, and probably not switched on. I'm going to switch it on. Hello? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Noel, for those kind words of introduction. I am not new to either the university or the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council. I have been at this university since 1971. So I can figure out how long that is. And with the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council from 2006 onwards. In 2011, as you heard, we got the Gandhi statue, courtesy of the High Commissioner of India and the Government of India, sculpted by Ram Sutar, one of the famous sculptors of India, and his son Anil Sutar. Anil is still there, so once we were missing the glasses of Gandhi, we went to Anil and got extra made.
Yeah.
So there's a long story, but it's a special privilege and honor to be invited to deliver this lecture, the endowed lecture of the College of the Humanities. We have had very distinguished speakers in the past, and I'm therefore delighted to join the company of some very outstanding people. And it's just a pleasure to have you here to listen to something that is dear to me. When I was dressing up, I said, well, Gandhi didn't wear any clothes. He had only dhoti. And so did the Jains don't wear any. So am I wearing more than what they should? So we are talking about the impact of Jain religion, but first of all, let me say that Gandhi was influenced by many religious traditions. And the most traditions that most influenced him were two: the Hindu religion, along with its scriptures, the Bhagavad Gita and the Bhagavad Puran, and the Jain tradition, the Jain religious tradition. He derived much of his action and his thought process from these two followings. So let me go through the steps that I like to cover today. Yeah, okay. So before I go into how Gandhi was influenced, let me at least briefly describe what do I mean by Jain tradition. What is Jain philosophy? What is Jain principle? And therefore I like to go through a historical perspective and a brief description of the Jain philosophy or the Jain tradition. And so the Jains believe that their religion is based on antiquity. It was always there and always have been there. But historically, the best we can find is the Jainism was founded by a person called Rishabh Bhagwan, or Rishabh. He was a divine person. Of the 24 divine persons in the Jain tradition, who are called Tirthankars. A Tirthankar literally means a ford maker. You see, if you have a river and you make a small portion of the river so that you can swim across easily, that's called a ford. So they were the ford, he was the builder of a ford. And what was the purpose? To cross this river of suffering that is this world. How do you get nirvana or liberation from this world which is suffering most of the time? So that's why he's called Tirthankar. Next one, we'll go there. I can probably see that there. So now it is well known or well established fact that Rishabh was connected closely to the Indus Valley civilization of India, which flourished around 5,200 years ago in the Indus Valley. It's also referred to as the Harappan civilization, and it was a very well-developed civilization. It was discovered in excavations that were carried out during the British rule of India in 1920, where they discovered two major cities. One was Harappa and the other was Mohenjo-daro. And they found that the civilization flourished around 2600 BC. So it's been 5,000 odd years, that civilization, and it's been confirmed that that civilization exists. Now that also proved that Rishabh was connected to that civilization. What is the proof? Let's go through that quickly. Now, first of all, the Indus Valley civilization is well known as a very well developed civilization with brick houses and roads and drainage systems, water supply systems, and urban planning. In that civilization, we also discovered a large number of terracotta clay seals. On each seal, there was an imprint. And there are some very interesting imprints in these Harappan seals. Now, Jain images or iconic figures from 11th and 12th century, I like to show them to you first, and then I'll see what is the connection between these images of 11th and 12th century and the Harappan seals that I just talked about, and the imprints on those Harappan seals. So 11th and 12th century images of the Rishabh are shown in this slide. These are the two meditation poses, in the way the munis or the sadhus or the all of the practitioners of the religious tradition meditate. One is called a kayotsav. Kayotsav literally means standing. The standing pose on the left hand side, and there is the sitting pose or padmasana, the lotus posture. So these are the two types of postures that you can find in later iconic figures, even today. Okay. And these are well known to, so these are marble statues, of course, and this is one is a sandstone and there is marble. These are from 11th and 12th century. Now, similar seals have been found on the Harappan excavation. This one comes from Mohenjo-daro, which is now in Pakistan, and you can see this is the Kayotsav posture of meditation. There are similar other seals, and I'm not going through many of them, but they are similar to the two that I showed you, the lotus posture and the standing posture. And these have been found in the excavations, and it sort of shows indirectly that there's antiquity of Jainism, which was supposed to be about 5,200 years old, and it flourished side by side with the Hindu tradition. Okay. The Jain tradition by the Hindus is normally referred to as Shravan Sanskriti, the hearing, the oral tradition. Because the written of words were only came later on in about after BC, after Christ. But this is one sign of the antiquity of Jainism. Now, out of the 24 Tirthankars or divine figures that I referred to, the last one was the 24th Tirthankar, whose name is Mahavir, which all of you, I believe, would know. He is normally understood to be the founder of the religion, but that's not true. The religion was already there. He put it on a sound philosophical footing and revived it. That's the role of, and he is a historical figure, 599 BC, and lived for 72 years before attaining Nirvana. So that's where the role of Mahavir is. And of course, after Mahavir, who gave this philosophy and the tradition to the religion, established on a firm footing the Jainism and its Sanskriti and its architecture, its archaeological manifacts, and its art. They all flourished. There are beautiful temples all around India of Jains. And now they've grown in the United States and Canada. Nearest is in Toronto. There are 3 temples of the Jain tradition in Toronto. Beautiful temples, some of them. And so that has happened after Mahavir. But Mahavir was the one he's not the founder of the religion, but he was the one who gave it this sound philosophical footing. So let's now go to philosophy. I'll give you this brief historical perspective to build a context. The philosophical, what is the philosophy? Jains are the followers of Jin. Jin literally means conqueror. You all know that Jainism believes in ahimsa. So what is the conqueror doing in ahimsa? What do you mean by having a conqueror? What did he conquer? And if he's a conqueror, how can it be a Jain? No, the conquest is on the passions of ours. The anger, the greed, the ego, the deceit. These are the passions, and if you do victory on them, that's the victor. He is the victor, he is the Jinnah. And the followers of Jinnah are Jains. Okay. That's how that word Jain comes. When one who has conquered the self, and as I said earlier, he is also referred to as a Tirthankar or the ford maker. Okay, so what do the Jain philosophy say? First of all, universe is eternal and everlasting. There is no creator, no supreme being will meddle in the affairs of. That's a significant departure from many traditions. And that's unique in one way, that nobody else is coming to help you or drown you. It is you who build your life and past life, future life. It is occupied by two types of constituents, the animate and the inanimate. Now let's talk of the animate, that's what interests us most. Animate, an infinite number, they all have physical bodies, but each physical body is inhabited by what is called a soul. Now the soul is indestructible, everlasting. What happens is, when this body dies or perishes, the soul migrates from one body to another. But the body dies, the body perishes, but the soul ever, until it is liberated. Then this cycle of birth and death will cease. Birth and death is suffering in a way, and this will cease. Then you realize the true nature of the soul, which I will describe in a minute. What is liberation really? So liberated in embodied soul, the liberated soul, and on the left hand side I've got two classifications. There are animate and there are inanimate. And the inanimate comprise of matter, space, time, medium of rest. And I'll not go into the details of that, but Pudgal, Akash, Kal, these are the words that are used in the literature. But let's talk about the animate souls. So what is the association of the body and the soul? Sorry, let's go there. Karmic particles bind the soul to the body, and we'll come back to it in a little bit. The soul then migrates from one body to another. What keeps the soul bound are the karmic particles, and that we'll talk about in a little bit more detail. And the karmic particles originate in our indulgences and our passions. Indulgences in Hindi translates to Vishay, and passions to Kashai. That's just the Hindi words that I use. But indulgence, attachment to something, too much of attachment to something, gives rise to indulgences. Passions of anger, these are the four major ones: the anger, ego, deceit, and greed. If you do good deeds, then you attract merit karmas. If you do bad deeds, you attract demerit karma. But as long as there are karmas, the soul will be attached to your body. It will not be liberated. So you have to shed your karmas. Okay? And so pictorially, we have two classifications. The soul is liberated or embodied. And the two classifications on the left hand side is a figurative show, this is depiction of liberated soul. On the right hand side is embodied. All living bodies have a soul. And that's an important distinction one makes here. So what does the soul do? It is inside the body, of course. It's embodied soul. And it has this attachment through karmas. So let's say on the right hand side we have a pictorial depiction. There is the influx of karmas which are shown by particles here. There are dark particles which are the demerit karmas. And there are colored particles which are the merit karmas. They come and bind the soul, so they come infection and bondage. Soul and the body get bonded. Then, with your own effort, you can stop new karmas from coming, forming. and that's called stoppage. And I'll not give you the somewhere is the Hindi word, but that's then you shed these kernels, you give further effort. And what are the efforts that we need to do? We'll talk about it later. So you shed these kernels, and then you get liberated. And there are no kernels left, no attachment of the body to the soul is liberated, and it becomes blissful. The true nature of soul is infinite worldview, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. That's the most important word is infinite bliss. Because it's liberated now, it's no longer in the cycle of birth and death. And the liberation is the realization of the true nature of soul. And this is important. If the true nature of soul is ultimately this liberated soul, which is blissful, divine, powerful, and all of you have, and all of us have, a soul which is similar. There is an equality of souls. So what right do you have to hurt, kill, torment another living body which has a soul which is the same type as your soul? And when I say body, any living being, not just humans, but any living being which is animate, which has a soul. So that's the philosophy in brief. All souls are equal and all capable of achieving liberation. If being liberated is being divine, then divinity is inherent in all of us, in all living beings. On this concept of equality of souls, based on the two basic tenets of Jain arise. One is ahimsa, or non-violence, and vegetarianism, of course. Then we talk about the path to liberation. The path to liberation, in fact, comprises the central concept of ahimsa, and we'll talk about ahimsa a little bit more and how it translated to Gandhi's actions and thoughts. And then there is the anekantvad, or pluralism, and aparigraha, or restraint. Three things, 3 A's of Mahavir they are called. Ahimsa, anekantvad, and aparigraha, all starting with the 3 A's of Mahavir. And they have profound meaning in all traditions of religion, not only Jains, but also in some other, particularly Hindu traditions. So ahimsa involves resolve not to hurt, insult, torment, persecute, enslave, torture, or kill any living being. But it's also the positive quality of kindness, compassion, love, amity, and peace. So ahimsa is not just don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. What you should do, what you should do, is also equally important. So Mahavir proclaimed emphatically that the teachings of Jainism, and that single word spells it all. You are that you intend to harm. Your soul and that soul is the same. You are the one you are going to harm by doing torturing or enslaving or killing. And that is an ephemeral thing. And it's a beautiful sculpture that I like from Swedish sculptor Carl Fredrik. The gun, with the ribbon bound against it, that just proclaims that you should refrain from violence. The second one, the anekant. Anekant is the Jain's greatest contribution to human action. Gandhi was greatly influenced by this, I will tell you later on. What it means is that your perception of truth is good from you, based on your experience and your observation. But there may be other observations and experiences that are equally valid. You have no monopoly on truth. If you have no monopoly on truth, then how can you be dogmatic? How can you insult somebody else's viewpoint? Think about it. You may not adopt it, but at least consider it. Don't reject it as a non-truth. So that's anekantvad in very short. This concept of anekant rejects dogma and promotes, and I use the words of Radhakrishna, who says, respect for different viewpoints and the spirit of understanding, cooperation, and coexistence. Those words are quoted out from Radhakrishna's writings. And that's really something quite And the best way to do this is to describe this. This is the famous Jain parable of an elephant and 6 men who are visually impaired. Okay. They all touch the elephant. The one person who touches the side of the elephant says it's a wall. One who touches the leg says it's a pillar. One who touches the ear says it's a fan. One who touches the tail says it's a robe. One who touches the trunk says it's the branch of a tree. And one who touches the tusk says it's a spear. They all fight with each other. I am right, you are wrong. Until someone who can see passes by and says, why are you fighting? Each one of you is right in your own observation and experience. But the truth is a synthesis of all of your individual experiences. Don't disrespect the other part of it. There may be validity in this one. That's anekantvad. And there is a parallel word which is called syadvad, so perhaps. Perhaps. So when you say this is the truth, you have ignored the others. Maybe there is something else. So whatever you say is no guarantee that's the only truth. Therefore, that word syadvad means perhaps. Maybe you are true. But maybe the entire truth is something else. So that's anekantvad explained by this picture. And the last one, the aparigraha. Aparigraha or non-attachment, non-possessiveness, self-restraint, and imposition of a limit on material possessions. These are very important in today's context as we'll talk about when we talk about the relevance of these thoughts and Gandhi. Gandhi shared many of these thoughts. So attachment to material possessions inevitably, of course, incites the passions of greed and jealousy, anger and conceit and ego, all of which often lead to violence. Okay. You can understand that. Extravagance and luxury doesn't necessarily bring you happiness. Satisfaction, contentment, and self-restraint will probably bring you happiness. Oh, here is a beautiful cartoon. It's a lady goes to a vacuum cleaner shop, says, I want something without attachment. I am a Jain. So that's aparigraha. These are the three basic principles or the central pillars of Jain philosophy and thought. Now, aparigraha leads to the caring for our planet, and this is really good, important in today's context here. Jains have traditionally been environmentalists. They respect the environment because they think that there is life in most of it, and you don't want to kill anything. So this was enshrined in a Jain declaration of nature, which is presented to His Royal Highness Prince Philip, who was the president of the Worldwide Fund on climate, and 1990, Buckingham Palace by Dr. L.M. Singhvi, who was an eminent scholar, a jurist, but also a former High Commissioner, as a dignified person is here. He was the High Commissioner for India to UK. And he writes in his declaration, which he presented to the Prince Philip, because Prince Philip was attached very strongly to the protection and preservation of the environment. That all life is, the Sanskrit word, parasparo pangraho jivana. All life is interdependent. One lives on the basis of the other. They all support each other, just like the nature supports us. Okay? So ahimsa and eco-friendliness, again, as I just said, they are very relevant to the Jain thought of ahimsa. You cannot kill any living being, which includes vegetation. So if ahimsa is a life lived simply, and no strain on lands but resources, in recognition of the idea that all life is bound together by those two things, mutual dependence, they are all equal, they are all divine. And now we come to, how did Gandhi get exposed to this? What was the context? How did he get exposed to Jainism? First of all, he was not a Jain. He was a Vaishnava Hindu. His mother was a Vaishnava Hindu. But he was born and lived in his childhood in Porbandar, Gujarat state. And Gujarat state had a predominant population of Jains, and the Jain tradition was very well established in Gujarat. So that was one reason. The other reason was that his mother, Putlibai, again, although Hindu, greatly believed in the Jain philosophy, particularly its solemn vows and its passion for truth and ahimsa. And he used to always have Jain sadhus hosted by her. And so Gandhi was born in Hindu, but he's had great exposure to the Jain religion in these two ways. Very nice, interesting story. 1887, when he was 18 years old, Gandhi decided to go to England for study law. But Putlibai, his mother, had heard that these young unmarried people, young boys, they go to England and they get corrupted with wine, women. And so she said, no, you cannot go. So while they found a way out, she consulted a Jain monk, Becharji Swami, that was the name of the monk. She asked him, how can I let him go? What conditions? So Becharji said, well, let him take 3 vows. And if he does, in my presence, in your presence, then we'll let him go. Well, of course, Gandhi took those 3 vows and he was allowed to go to England. And just to say that in England, he was tempted by various things, but he kept his vows. He never forgot his mother's, the promise that he had made to his mother. He was persuaded to eat egg. I said, oh, it's vegetarian. But his mother didn't eat eggs. And she believed that there was life in there. So he didn't. All of his friends persuaded him to do one of the others, but he stuck to his vows. But the real exposure of, came to 1891. 3 years after he had gone to England, he earned a bachelor's degree in law, had gone to bar, and he returned to India in 1891. And he was met at the Bombay docks by his brother Lakshman Das, and then he learned that his mother had passed away in the meantime, and that kept the news from him to spare him the grief. And of course, when he heard this news, he was stricken with grief. It was at such a somber time that his friend, Dr. D.J. Mehta, with whom he was staying, he introduced Gandhi to a dealer of gems, a jeweler. His name was Raichand. And Gandhi would later call him Raichand Bhai. Bhai means brother. He was so dear to Raichand later on, as you will see. So anyway, he was introduced to Raichand. And Raichand he was a person of brilliant mind and prodigious memory. And he was reputed to be a Shatavadhani, which means he can look after 100 things at the same time. Now Gandhi, with a certain ego in his education from Britain, he said, well, let me test him. So he said, okay, let me meet Raichand Bhai, or Raichand, at this time he was calling him Raichand. So let us meet Raichand. He collected some 100 words from all the European languages that he had learned, put them down in an order, and he recited those words in front of Raichand Bhai once. And Raichand, without hesitation of a moment, recited them exactly in the same sequence, the words that he had never heard before. So anyway, that's the beginning of a friendship. But more than that, Gandhi was deeply influenced by the spirituality of Raichand and his purity of thought. Raichand was a person of deep spirituality, as I just mentioned. He had not only learned Jain tradition, but he had good knowledge, thorough knowledge of Gita, Vedas and Quran from the Hindu tradition. He had also studied Christianity, Buddhism, and Islam. So he was a deeply spiritual man, but also a very learned person. Gandhi eagerly sought the company of Raichand for the 2 more years that he lived in India after having returned. He tried to practice law, but he was not successful in India, and he later on left for South Africa, as you will see. But he, in those 2 years, eagerly sought the company of Raichand Bhai, and learned from him the Jain tradition as well as his spirituality, which he uplifted him. And then he moved to South Africa. And then the friendship, the two continued through letters over these years that he was in South Africa until sadly Richcraft prematurely died at the age of 34. But their friendship lasted until then. Very interesting is Gandhi bracketed Richcraft with Tolstoy and Ruskin. You heard of those names, the famous philosophers who both believed in non-violence and written about it. And Gandhi has written in his autobiography that three moderns have most influenced me, three of them. Tolstoy, by his book, The Kingdom of God is Within You, and Ruskin by his book, Unto the Last, and Richcraft by his Living Example. So his brackets Richcraft by with these two people who most influenced him. So you see how the Jainism influenced Gandhi. Here is a picture of Richcraft with Gandhi. Just a camera there. Again, he was greatly influenced by all of the things that I told you about the Jain, the three concepts, the three capitals of Jainism, central concept of non-violence. He practiced it not in a mere passive abstention, but also in a positive side, as I mentioned earlier, the positive quality of kindness, compassion, and love for all. Non-violence is we should emphasize is not the instrument of a weak person. You need courage and fortitude to practice non-violence, as Gandhi showed later on in his Satyagraha movements. You should be prepared to take punishment. You should be prepared to go to jail. You have to be prepared to be suffering, to be truthful or practice ahimsa. So ahimsa is the weapon of the strong, not the timid. It needs fortitude. The other thing that most influenced Gandhi from the Jain tradition was the passion for truth. And it comes directly from this Anekant construct. The manyness of reality, the manifold reality, and the respect for another point of view. But truth is very important, and Gandhi equated these two, ahimsa and Anekant, as the central pillars of Jain, as his devoted followers. As I said, the practice of non-violence translated to love for all, and truth was something to be lived. And throughout his life, he practiced these two, non-violence and truth. And you all heard of Satyagraha. Satyagraha literally means the insistence on truth. So what he believed to be true, he could fight for it, non-violently, passionately. And that was Satyagraha throughout his life. Of course, you heard of many of these, the Salt March, the number of fasts that he was carrying out, and so on. The second one, which I told you earlier, the third one rather, the Aparika. Again, it influenced Gandhi a lot, as you can know, of course you can understand. Modest living, limit on possessions, because it's the indulgence in possessions that breeds avarice and greed, and therefore contributes to non-truth and violence, ultimately. Self-imposed limit on possessions, you say, okay, I will like to have 2 cars, but then don't crave the third one. Or I like to have 5 suits, don't ask for the 6th one. Put a decision, self-imposed limit on possessions. You will be happy. You will be contented. And the Gandhi has said very famously, live simply so that others may live. And there are other philosophers who have said that, Marius de Gours, political philosopher professor, said, yesterday's wants have become today's needs, and today's wants are going to become tomorrow's needs. Yeah. According to Gandhi, Aparika led to moderation in the lifestyle, respect for nature, and commitment to ecological preservation. Those last 3 words are very important because that's what our time today. Again, he said, there is sufficiency in the world for man's need, but not for man's greed. Very interesting, and Noel talked about it once in his lecture. Pope Francis in 2015 essentially repeated exactly the words that Mahavir had said, and then Gandhi has said about the satisfaction with modest living. And Pope Francis exactly said in an ecumenical, which widely spread out among Roman Catholics, but among all the world, that moderation is what is important, and that will give you real happiness. Craving for extravagance and luxury, better material wealth doesn't bring any satisfaction. But another important thing is craving for possessions, material possessions. What does it mean? More production. Every production wants energy to be used. So the world energy demand is growing at a 4% per year. And no matter what kind of energy, whether fossil fuel or hydroelectric or wind, every type of energy which is used produces heat. It produces heat and it puts it into the climate. The global warming phenomena that you all heard, many are skeptical, but that's proven more and more and more as the events unfold. So the three things, Dhamika, Aparigra, and Ahimsa, grounded in the philosophy of oneness of life and timeless universal love, that is what is the influence. Now, the last one, thought process that I want to deal with is the relevance of the thought of Jainism and Gandhi, shared thoughts of Gandhi and Jainism. How are they relevant today? The most serious threat, as Rashmi mentioned earlier, is the violence, the bloodshed, and the destruction that surrounds us. And you know, every day we hear there are wars between states and nations. There are wars between individuals and groups and communities. And perverted religious questions, they incite this intolerance, bigotry, bloodshed, and wars. These are all known. The sectarian and communal violence goes on all over the world. Every day, if you read the newspaper, you'll hear about this. What did Gandhi do? He devised practical solutions to deal with conflict or differences based on his principles of non-violence and truth. He wanted to bring social justice to all, but all of his ideas were founded on truth, non-violence, and service. And finally, autonomy, Swaraj, independence. These were the ideas that drove him to practice our actions. So the moral values and religious concepts of Gandhi, which he shared from many religious traditions, and in particular I'm talking about the Jain tradition, that of understanding, mutual understanding, love, kindness, and compassion. Gandhi also sought welfare for all, the familiar term sarvodaya, good for all, good of all. Okay, this I already talked about. Okay, now, last few slides, I talk about the relevance of Gandhi and Jainism idea today. We talk about the aparigra, okay, and we talk about non-violence or not practicing ahimsa. So let's look at some diseases, the pandemics. We are all familiar with the last one, the COVID-19. COVID-19 is a coronavirus originated from animal source, and they are usually referred to as zoonotic disease. Anything that originates in a human animal source is called a zoonotic disease. Usually, bats mostly are great reservoirs of virus. The bats pass this virus on to some other animal, which is called intermediary. And that other animal, when consumed or traded by humans, causes epidemics. That's a well-known thing. May or may not believe it, but it's been experienced and proven time and again. So let's go through the history of some of the pandemics very briefly. Starts with 2004, NL63 in Netherlands came from tricolored bats, and then it passed on to the humans. The SARS, which you all seen 2002 to 2004, another kind of bat, they call it the horseshoe bat. And then there is the pangolin, which is the intermediary, and from there to the humans. Why? Because they are trading in pangolins, or they are eating pangolins. MERS, as was the third one which was on the list, it originated in Saudi Arabia in 2012, again from bats to camels, from camels to humans. OC43, 1965, in France, origin from rodents this time, and cattle as the intermediary. And the COVID-19 outbreak of 2019 from bats with pangolins as the intermediary. And here is the wet market of Wuhan, which many believe was the place where this COVID-19 originated because of the dealing with wildlife trading for consumption. So that's a big thing for, this is just a picture of what a bat looks like and what a pangolin looks like. So the bats to pangolins, pangolins to humans. So how is Jain way of life or Gandhi's way of life, the shared values? They both demand adoption of vegetarianism and abstaining from trading animals and wildlife in a path, which is a path to healthy, disease-free living. And the other side is the preservation of the ecosystem equally well preserves the human life. And let's talk about that. Of course, the positive side of pandemic, of hindsight, is that not only you prevent, but you also help people who are suffering from that. So, you saw both sides. The prevention side, where people are asked to wear a mask or keep a distance of 6 meters, and the positive side, where all our health workers at risk to their own life were working day and night to ameliorate the effect of this thing. We have in our family 7 of these, so we know what they were going through. Compassion and kindness, the other aspect of ahimsa. So what are the lessons? Refrain from disturbing the nature's balance and let all organisms live in peace. And now the last point. The scientific studies have established that the destruction of our ecosystem by invading tropical forests, deforestation, and climate change. All of those originate from our indulgence in our habits. They let loose the viruses from the plants, and they come into the atmosphere, and they cause the disease. We must protect our environment to minimize the risk of disease. There are other reasons you have to protect the environment, but one of them is to make our life easier. And the final, climate change and natural disasters. Of course, you all know now, it's being in the newspaper every day, that climate change has caused such calamities. They call it floods, the fires, the tornadoes, rising sea levels, and so on. You heard of the California devastating fires? Again, because of climate change. Okay. And more closer to home are the British Columbia wildfires. 2023, these wildfires destroyed or consumed 2 million hectares, 0.3 now. Every day there is a new figure growing number. So it's still going on. Number of fires is out of control. 15 million over the Canada, but the other figure that I used was British Columbia, and overall in the entire country is about 15 million hectares. So finally, then the relevance of the shared thoughts of Jainism and Gandhi, the promotion of mutual understanding, harmony and peace, preservation of the environment, and mitigating the effect of disease, epidemics, and climate change. That was the last point I was making. This brings to the conclusion of my talk, but I need to wind up with a very interesting and inspiring story and share it with you. You know, when Gandhi returned from South Africa after spending 20 years in South Africa to India in 2015, the first thing he did was, for the next 2 years, he traveled throughout the country. Village to village, small town to small town, big towns. What he discovered was what Indian society needed most at that time were a few things. One was that in the village, folks, you needed employment. And therefore, small-scale industry and cottage industry was the best route for those to make them employed, self-reliant. And the other thing that he greatly found was that India needed most at that time, and probably still does, is women emancipation and women empowerment. So that become equal partners with men in serving not only their family but also the nation. And very interestingly, Gandhi's satyagraha attracted more women than men in his participation in the marches that he did. Gandhi was a great admirer of women emancipation, and so in 2001, inspired by this Gandhi's vision of empowerment, an NGO in my town, Udaipur, in India, established a women empowerment project. And it was called Pragati Ashram, or the Sanctuary of Progress. And the idea was to bring ladies from small villages and towns which did not have a university, bring them, give them the lodging and boarding, and admit them to a university so that they can pursue studies, they could become more self-reliant, they can be better employed, they could be of equal service to the country. And so this women empowerment project called Pragati Ashram. These are this is the abode of these ladies who are from villages and towns around Udaipur to come and live there, and they used to go to the local university called Mohanlal Sukhadia University. It's a group of ladies at one time, 70 to 80 every term for a few years, and the other term will come. And they had not only been living and boarding at a university, but they had extracurricular yoga in the morning, personality development, character development in time, afternoon, or evenings. So you see a picture with yoga. But interestingly, this project was then supported in its formative years by SIDA. SIDA, you know, it's Canadian International Development Agency, doesn't exist anymore. It's merged with Global Affairs. But SIDA used to give grant to NGOs for some worthwhile projects. And they found this project to be very interesting, very in line with what they believed to be true. So it was supported by SIDA during the first few years. And here is a nice picture. So again we come to a High Commissioner. Canada's High Commissioner to India at that time. This is a picture from 2004. As Madam, Her Excellency Lucy Aylward. So she came to visit this because it's jointly supported by SIDA. So she comes in 3 years after it had started, and she is very impressed. Also, she shouts a slogan, Pragati Ashram Jindabad. And it's featured all over the press. Long live Pragati Ashram, that's what she meant. So among those ladies was Nidhi Jain. Nidhi Jain, after leaving Pragati Ashram, continued her study and did a MA and MPhil, both with gold medals. Wow. And then pursued a PhD in 2009. She finished her PhD. And then she went on to do postdoctoral, guest lecturer, adjunct professor, but she also established a women empowerment project, having learned this something from the Pragati Ashram. That women empowerment project is called Pratidhwani Sansthan or Sakhi. Sakhi means friend. What does this project do? I will ask Nidhi to describe in her own words what this project does. So please welcome Nidhi Jain, Dr. Nidhi Jain, for her presentation. Now, we have to ask the technician to be, is he here? The second slideshow is maybe here.
So thank you.
Go ahead, Nidhi.
Sure.
And once he puts the slideshow, you can use that.
Okay. Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be here in Canadian country, and because of the CEDA help this project. And before I start anything, I want to give a big thanks to Professor Jagmohan Humar sir, his wife Bua. We call Bua because we live with her together in the Pragati Ashram. And last but not least, Mr. Mahavir Minda sir. He made a change, a big change in my life. Or if you allow me, His Excellency here, I would like to present my presentation in both languages, in Hindi as well in English, both. And I understand, so many people understand Hindi. So if you allow me, so I would like to talk in my mother tongue. Thank you. So, who I am? I am a Nidhi who had a big dreams in her eyes. So I want to present, I want to do something for the women's in this life, which 84 लाख योनि में जो मानव जन्म मिला है, उसमें मैं कुछ करना चाहती थी, और उसके लिए महावीर मिंडा साहब ने मेरी बहुत 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 मदद की. और हुमर सर जब भी मैं कनाडा से इंडिया आते थे, तब उन्होंने मुझे हमेशा एक मार्गदर्शन दिया और एक गाइडेंस दी. उसके लिए मैं थैंक यू कहना चाहती हूँ. थैंक यू वेरी मच सर, मेरे सपनों को जीने के लिए और मेरे जीवन को सपनों के जैसा बनाने के लिए. थैंक यू वेरी मच. So I start my project here. Sorry.
Did you get it?
Yeah. Wait is. Oh really?
Not sure.
Nidhi presentation
Okay.
is the same file, there was another one.
Oh, the same.
Yeah, the same, yeah. There were two.
Okay. So
Nidhi, just hold on.
Okay.
Let it put it down.
Hindi, some people do not understand Hindi here.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You
so
might
I
as
will
well speak in English, yeah.
English both. Thank you.
Is she from Pragati Ashram?
So
Yeah.
meanwhile I can talk.
Yeah, you can.
She's a rapper. She
So
works for Government of
in
India on a
1942
research
in my
project.
village there was a Gandhi ashram, because Gandhiji established many ashram in the India. So like Wardha, Sabarmati. In my village in Kushalgarh in southern Rajasthan, this is a part of Banswara district. So there was also a Gandhi ashram, and there is population ratio is 86% tribal people are there. So Mahatma Gandhi said to Mr. Gokulbhai Bhatt, you should go and do some work for these people. So the scheduled tribe areas, Gokulbhai Bhatt came to my town and he established a Gandhi ashram in 1942. But some local people helped in this mission, and Gandhi ashram जो जमीन दी गई थी, so Raja, the king of Kushalgarh, gave land for the establish the ashram. So the ashram started in 1942 until running 1960s, because after independence in 1948, Kushalgarh was merged in Rajasthan provinces, you know, the biggest Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel effort for that. And from 1960s ke baad, after 1960s that ashram is closed and that building was it was not working, so it like Khandhar. So I'm basically a researcher. I'm working with the Center of the Study of Developing Society, Lokniti, and which is in ICSR, part of Indian Council of Social Science and Research. So basically I'm a researcher. So I started my research work and I found a ashram was there. So I thought I should start again because I lived in the Pragati ashram. So I can start some another work again for the women's. So I went to my collector, in my town. Collector sir, I want to start a project like a Gandhi Ashram, and collector said, if you want to start, just go and do it, and you rent a building and do it on your own, because at that time in 2004-5 I don't have still very much money. So I said, okay sir, I will start one day. Thankfully, luckily, I started in 2016. So this project is started in 2016, and I said at that day to my collector, now from 2016, I will not come to your office. You will one day come to my office. And he came with our divisional commissioner, election commissioner Mr. S.Y. Qureshi Sahab, and Commissioner of Nepal, Mrs. Ila Sharma. So that's the strength of women which Gandhi wants. So this is me, this is our project, and I would like to go ahead before. So this is the Gandhi Ashram which I talk about it. मुझे इस building में sir, people were not, those were had keys of this khandar, so they did not allow me to go inside the building. That was the story. So I said, okay, fine, I don't want anything. So I started this project in 10 by 10 room. And now, sir, we have 40,000 square feet land on our own. So, why Sakhi? Sakhi, because that's a remote area, that's a backward area in tribal indigenous people. और इतनी ज़्यादा the ratio of development like literacy, like employment, and the project was started because I want to start a migration for the people from my town. And basically when I saw their women's life is very tough, very hard, impossible. If you are woman, you have to be mother, you have to be worker, you have to earn money for your family. So many things were there. So I thought, no, we should do something for these women. So I started this project because of this condition. Sir, today His Excellency will be surprised to know, and you also will be, 33% literacy rate are there. 33 only, sir. 33% literacy rate is there. So this is the 100% literacy is world today. So this is the problem, which there is no education and this kind of some political participation, awareness, the lack of awareness. So there is a problem. So I thought we should do something for women's. So I started with the small skills like sewing and stitching and embroidery work, because women's in a small area, people cannot be all doctors, all engineers, or IAS, but they can do a small work like embroidery, like stitching, something. So I pick up 2-3 things and I start this project. And I set up for the training for these women's designers. I call the designers and professional people to train them. And they came and I paid for their work. And the result of the work, now 5,000 tribal women are empowered with this project, and all are indigenous women. So Sakhi object was women should be leaders, women should be powerful women. She should be economically powerful, then she must be powerful in social, culture, and political environment, which is my personal experience. If you are economically well sounded, then you can gain power. Otherwise, nobody is free for listen to you. And we are a student of government schools. So today, even students don't know how to speak in Hindi or how to speak in English very well. So that's a lack of communication skills. So now my generation in my village, people, and especially women, should not suffer with any problem. They must be modernized. So that is the vision and objects of Sakhi. So we want to create as a leadership for Sakhi, for women. And I will show you now what I did. Actually, we did. Some example, you can see the green dress girls. She was suffered with a child marriage, and now she's working in our institution. Her name is Manisha, and now she's working as a beeline in Sakhi. She is managing everything in the institution. So people and students like embroidery classes, we train them. I would like to show you, this is the stitching classes and as well embroidery classes, and you can see the teacher is there, Mr. Mehtab. He's teaching there, and thankfully we have small staffs here, but all people are working very hard 24/7. We don't have vacation. Even on Sunday we are working. There is no Sunday in Sakhi because we want to make something strong and loyal. So yeah, so I will give you 2 examples. She is Maya Khadia. She was working as a domestic worker in three manzila house, what I can say, 3 stories. So she 2,800 because for domestic work, her honor give to for the cleaning and for the food and everything. So now I call her Maya. She took a training for 4 years in our institution, and now she is earning 1,500 rupees per day. So her life, how come is changed. So she is an example, and she is a cousin of my member of Legislative Assembly. She is the best example. She is Usha. Sir, you will not believe, Usha was a single child. So she took her parents to her sasural, and they are living together, like her mother and father and her husbands and mother and father. So they all are living in one campus. So Usha realized I should work, otherwise home will not work. So she came to our institution. We gave her a single machine, and now Usha earning 3,000 rupees per day. So this is the successful story of Usha. And what is our future plan and challenges? So challenge and possibilities. Challenge is very high because every work wants some money. Because without money you can't do anything. Now SIDA is merged. Now Government of India also should think about it. So there are these kind of many issues like economically. So I would again, sir says about the Jainism and Gandhi. So I will use one line of from our puja from Nane char parkar char sang ko dijiye. So you should do for education, for health, for books, for Abhaydan, Vidyadan, Shikshan, Aushadhan for the medicines, and you should donate for 4 things in our religion. So that is which I am doing every day. I am proud being I am a Jain, I am a good human being, and I will be best. And this is the future plan. We want to do something for our ladies, for their health, for their education, for their computer education. We promote them for the business. Now 1,000 women we promote there for the businesses, sir. And in my hometown, the whole economy captured by the women because of this project. So now there is no need like we are dependent on anybody. So this is the last slide which I want to show, and I want to take some little help if you want to do later on. So you can do help. So this is our future plan, and we are about starting the construction work in month of November, and thankfully Commissioner sir is here. So if we need some help from Indian government, we can request from this platform Thank you very much. And again, thank you, Humar sir, to make my life beautiful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nidhi. We are very proud that we have a product of our Pragati Ashram project who has herself taken over that responsibility. By the way, Nidhi, after doing her PhD in his academic work, she had traveled around the world to Ethiopia, to South Africa, to France, to UK. And she has been invited recently, a few days ago, by Humar College in Toronto to a conference called Displacement and Diaspora. One of the focus of that conference is indigenous people all over the world, but particularly Canada. So one of the theme sessions, she's a speaker there. And so when she came to Toronto, she said, we'd like to come and see us today. I said, wonderful, you come at the right time. We have a Gandhi lecture going on. Maybe you should introduce your project. So here is Nidhi. Thank you, Nidhi, for doing that.
Thank you, sir. Sir, at outside, I would like to give you some small memory from my institution to you and ma'am. So allow me, please, Rashmi ma'am, to go and I will take that item so I can give to the sir.
Yes.
There are, I think, some on the display.
Yes.
There is a small display there, probably. Maybe you can bring one. But there is a, when you go for reception, there is a small table. She couldn't bring too many things because of the weight. But yeah, there is a display. In fact, my wife is modeling one of them. That's a Nidhi's production. And that's what is special name? Katha. Katha.
Embroidery is doing fantastic.
Yeah, hand stitching. So, thank you very much. Before when she comes, and then in the meantime, Noel, if you would like to moderate, if there are any questions which I attempt to answer, and Amy will thank.
So we're running a little bit behind, but Jagmohan has kindly offered to field questions maybe based on his presentation and the influence of Jain tradition on Gandhi. And so I will pass a mic around if anyone has a question that they'd like to pose to him.
Yeah.
My name is Dr. Praveen Yogi, and I have the honor to consider Dr. Jagmohan Humar as both a friend and a colleague. First of all, thank you for an excellent lecture, and I would specifically wish to thank Dr. Nidhi Jain for giving us her experiences. Before I ask the question, which has to do with Gandhiji's work in the empowerment of women, let me give you a little background. I come from the province of Bengal. In the 19th century, we were so backward that it was told of women, of married women, that if they studied, they would become widows. And from that society, and the reforms of Raja Rammohan Roy and Rani Rashmani, we came to the first women graduates of Calcutta University, and we came to Sarojini Naidu, and the rest is history. My question to you, Jagmohan, is what specifically does the Jain religion and its influence on Gandhiji have, by way of implication, on the education and empowerment of women in India that we have seen particularly after 1947?
I did mention that Gandhi was a great proponent of women emancipation and women empowerment. And he traveled from village to village, and in his ashrams, the Sarvodaya ashram, the Sevagram, he wanted women to participate. And you will notice that women stood side by side with Gandhi throughout his journey. And he had a great respect for women, and he went out of the way to invite their participants. And as I've already mentioned, these satyagraha movements had more women participation than men. That says a lot about that time when the women were behind curtains and not participating in normal ways. So that was clearly Gandhi's action. Gandhi's action. He believed in it and he acted on it. And you can see an awakening in India among the women at that time and among the society as well.
Sir, my question is about the origin of universe, which as Jainism, it has never ending, it has never originated and will never be destroyed. It is running in a cycle. But these days the modern sciences, astrophysics and cosmology, etc. has given the theory about the Big Bang and Big Crunch. So how does this relate with the theory of Jainism on the origin of universe? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you. That's a difficult question to answer. There are a lot of issues on which traditional religious theories differ from the modern scientific theories. But there is no guarantee that all modern scientific theories are correct. They often realize that what they were thinking was like the Anekant thing, a half-truth. So yeah, the universe, as far as Jainism is concerned, there is no creator. That is the main point of that. I mean, the idea of the theory of this no creation, no creator is, people say, God gave me this, God brought me this calamity, God gave me this happiness. God doesn't give anything. In Jain terms, what is called God is a vitrag. Vitrag means he has no attachment to anybody, no relationship with anybody. He is neutral. And you do what your Purushart does. Your action, your own actions bring you whatever you have got. And so very, very strong emphasis on self-help. The God doesn't interfere in your affairs. And that's a very unique sort of theory which diverts from many other theories. That God brought me this calamity, God helped me, God gave me. Because of that, therefore they also believe in no creator. And that probably why it follows that there is no creator, no supreme being, or the universe has always been there. And that's the natural outcome of this theory of self-help.
Well, maybe I'll use my privilege
Sure.
of holding the mic. Jainism has this ideal of non-violence, but how much is that is a personal ideal? I'm thinking that there was this German sociologist named Max Weber, and he famously defined the state as that entity which has the monopoly on legitimate means of violence, that a state has the right to defend itself when it is attacked. So I'm wondering if you could say something about the Jains who I believe serve in the military of the government of India. And is there a place in Jainism, despite that commitment to ahimsa, where there's a kind of accommodation, maybe concession, I don't know what the word would be, for the deployment of ahimsa? Because this is something that, with the situation in Ukraine and elsewhere, that we're grappling with at the moment. I'm wondering if you have insights from Jainism on that.
That's a beautiful, very nice question, and certainly as Jainism recognizes all types of ahimsa. One which is exceptional, where you are allowed, is so-called virodhi hinsa. The hinsa which is done in the protection or preservation of something. Very nice story about Srimad Rajchan and Gandhi. Gandhi once asked Srimad Rajchan, "This is my child. There is a snake which is coming to bite the child. Should I kill?" And Srimad Rajchan said, "Yeah, as a purist Jain philosopher, I would say no. But Jainism allows you to do the virodhi hinsa, protection, when something which is, but no intentional. Sankalpi hinsa is intentional hinsa. You should avoid at all all events avoid intentional hinsa. That's sankalpi hinsa, which you promise you will do it because of this is what you want.
Right.
So sankalpi hinsa is complete no-no. Virodhi hinsa is there. So the Jains also serve in the army. Yeah. Now there of course will be the situations where the army is not a legitimate army. Exactly. And so those are questions that will always arise in your life. And you have to make a nice intelligent decision on that. But it leaves you to your conscience. And it simply defines the total, the 4 types of hinsa. The sankalpi is one. And there is one which is in the nature of your trade. For example, you're doing agriculture. You always will probably have some life in the vegetation. But that's not so bad. The worst is the sankalpi, and you should avoid intentional violence. That's the password.
Well, I think we're a little bit over time, and maybe now I'd invite one of our board members of the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council, Amy Dillon, to offer some thanks. Amy last year taught a course at the University of Ottawa on nonviolence, which is being repeated this year at St. Paul University. So over to you, Amy.
Thank you. This is, as Noel mentioned earlier, this is our first in-person annual lecture since the pandemic, and it is such a pleasure to be here with you all today, this afternoon. I speak on behalf of the board members of the Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council when I say we're truly thankful to every one of you for joining us to better understand the relevance of Gandhi today and to just think about these issues in the world concerns. Before we move to the reception, I would first like to extend a heartfelt thank you to our special guests. That would be Dr. Sanjay Verma, Dr. Roseanne Wundt, and Dr. Shane Hawkins. Thank you very much. And to our speakers and volunteers, we could not have held this event without you. Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. We have Nidhi has a small presentation for His Excellency Mr. Verma and Mrs. Verma. And after that, we're pleased to proceed to the reception, which is outside in the reception area. And there is on a table, I think there are a display of a few things that the ladies from the Nidhi's project have done. She brought a few samples because she couldn't carry them more, of course, naturally, on the air you can bring them. So Nidhi, it's up to you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. I would like to invite you with Rashmi ma'am, because Rashmi ma'am, thank you very much as a chair of this Mahatma Gandhi Peace Council. Thank you very much for giving me the beautiful opportunity, and of course College, Humanities College and Dr. Suleiman. Thank you very much. Please welcome sir here and ma'am. So this is the jacket. You can wear it the double side. So this is, I'm only showing for the, this is kind of work which is done by our women, sir. So this is for you, madam. Please come. So these are the certificate members. No, it's okay. So that will make your house more beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you, Rashmi ma'am. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you
Great
so
to see
much.
you.
And I'm also really working for the Gandhi Ashram, and this is the vision of Gandhi, and I proved it. Gandhi was relevance.
Okay.
गांधी जी की प्रासंगिकता थी, है और हमेशा रहेगी.
Sir, please.
I would like Madam will wear that. Madam, yes, should with one hand. And this is Humar Bua ने जो साड़ी पहनी है.
Not Pragati Ashram, the Sakhi Ashram, the other ashram. She is running. She was educated in Pragati Ashram.
So you are not allowed to open that now.
I know.
So thank you.
So we have a reception just around to the right in the atrium, and we hope you can join us for some refreshments and tea.
Donations,
there.
seniors, for seniors.